Have you ever been on a road trip or headed to a new city, and on the way you need gas or food or something, and you see these little shady looking gas stations or dives or bars, and then something in the back of your mind kind of tells you, maybe this isn't the place I want to stop. How about I get a little bit closer to where I'm going and find something a little nicer? Well, this movie kind of explains why you should listen to that voice in the back of your head. Alright, so Green Room has a very simple but very interesting plot. It follows the story of this young charismatic punk band that just finished a tour that didn't go the way that they wanted, and they're doing so bad that they have to siphon gas just to get to their next destination. Now they land this gig at this neo-Nazi bar in the middle of this backwood God knows where place, and upon finishing their set, one of the members of the band witnesses a crime that ends up getting the band trapped in this green room, and the leader of this neo-Nazi group shows up and is played by Patrick Stewart, and then you get this very dark, deep, grisly, grimy game of cat and mouse where the band is trying to survive and the neo-Nazi people are just basically trying to cover their tracks, and from there it just gets gruesome. Now this movie is directed by the same director who brought you Blue Ruin, and in this movie they basically have the exact same characters as Blue Ruin, in which case I mean characters who don't make the smartest decisions and they just don't seem to be the brightest people. Now although the first maybe 20-30 minutes of the movie is background of the band and somewhat character development, it doesn't do enough for the characters to really attach you to them, so when they make the dumb decisions you're kind of torn in between, like you don't care if they get killed or you really don't care if they survive. I mean, there's one part in the movie that shows how simple the characters are and how bad their decision making is, where they basically say, I think we should split up. And everyone knows from the history of horror movies that is the worst possible idea you can do in any messed up situation. Now, although that may be one of my gripes about the movie, that also added to the suspense of it and kind of made the movie that much more enjoyable for me, because with the bad decisions you get more intense build up and more suspense, and this movie is intense with the suspense. Now the director does a great job with the suspense in this movie, and once the action kicks off, I was on the edge of my seat basically the rest of the film. And this is greatly due to the fact of the great performances from Anton Yelchin and Patrick Stewart. And another great thing is that this movie shows the point of view of the protagonist and the antagonist, because it becomes basically a game of wits where the band is doing everything that it can to stay alive while the neo-Nazi group is doing everything that it can to cover its ass. And although Patrick Stewart does an amazing job as a dark, menacing villain, I feel like he never got that scene that's just the memorable it scene. There's not that big scene where you just, when you leave the movie, you continuously think about that scene. Now, he did do a wonderful job. My only gripe is that, like I said, he doesn't have that memorable scene where he just steals the show. Now, the gore in this movie is amazing. I love it. I love graphic, gory movies, and this one it lives up to the hype. I mean, the makeup crew, props to them, because they made the wounds and the action in this movie seem very realistic. And it was to the point where, like, sometimes when you see stuff, if you have a weak stomach or you don't like blood and guts, you might turn your head, because it was some dark stuff. And like I stated in the beginning, most of this would have never happened if it wasn't for the characters in this movie making the dumbest decisions available. So that's why I said I enjoyed the fact that they were dumb, but at the same time, it kind of made me grind my teeth when I saw some of the actions and some of the decisions that they made. Now, overall, as a movie that falls into multiple categories, in my opinion, like suspense, crime, thriller, and horror, I think the movie works. The director does an amazing job. You can tell that it's a low-budget movie, but the performances were great, the cinematography was really dark, and the gore was extremely gorish. So overall, I enjoyed the movie. It does have a slow start, and you do complain about the simple decisions that the characters make sometimes, but in the end, it makes for an overall good movie, because again, without those simple decisions, then we wouldn't have some of the graphics and gore that we had in the movie. So with all that being said, I definitely have to say that this movie is worth a midday matinee. Alright, so that's it for this review. As always, whether you liked it or whether you hated it, comment below, let me know. But if you liked it and you thought this video rocked, like, comment, subscribe to see more from me, Mike Proc. Later.